All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome back to Fireside Chats with Coach P. I'm obviously your host, Coach P. Episode 2, we are joined by a great individual, great man, great coach, great friend. For those of you that don't know what Fireside Chats is, it's essentially an informal chat with friends. We talk all things ball, we talk all things business, we talk all things chasing your dreams and how to achieve those. So we'll get started with episode 2. Let's welcome to the show, Coach Brandon Brock. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for reaching out and having me on. I'm excited to chat today.
I'm excited too. I know that you and I always have some great text conversations and conversations in general, and it's unfortunate that COVID is still causing issues, and we didn't get you guys out to Ontario to play this year. But we thank you for being on. It's a real treat for me just to sit back and meet with people like yourself. Episode 1, we had Danielle Langford out of the Golden State Warriors. Her segment was amazing, and I'm sure that your segment here will be great. Coach, before we get started, where are you in the world? Where are you?
Currently in Edmonton, Alberta.
All right.
In the frigid cold. We're January 5th today. I think it's minus 31 outside, so I'm happy to be inside having this call with you.
Minus 31. Is that with wind chill or without?
No, I think that's before wind chill. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
We're living it up right now.
Yeah. Wow. That is I feel sorry for you because I think it's like 3 degrees today in Windsor. So
yeah.
But I hear that's Vancouver's also getting dumped on with snow. So
yeah, I was just back. I was back visiting my family for 2 weeks, and they got about in Port Moody. They got a solid foot.
Yeah.
Accumulated over the few days. It got down to like minus 10. People were freaking out as they do because it never gets that cold. It never snows. I remember growing up in Richmond, and maybe when I was a lot, maybe 15, 18 years ago, we would get some snow.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, it's Richmond. It would just rain and then go away.
Yeah.
So this is the first year that I can remember having like substantial snow that stayed around for a while. So
yeah. That's crazy. Global warming at its best, right?
Oh yeah.
Coach, please tell us about yourself. You said you're from Richmond, and obviously, where did you play? Where did you go to school? How to kind of walk us through a journey of Coach B.
Yeah. So like I said, I grew up in Richmond, went to school in Richmond, went to McMath in high school, played basketball in McMath for 2 years. Really my kind of basketball journey, was from a school level and playing perspective was quite short. I didn't pick it up till late. I mean, you can see I've got my hockey jerseys behind me. That was really like my main thing. Yeah. Was hockey. I was trying to live the Canadian dream, trying to play hockey. Oh, yeah. Basketball was just something that, kind of my friends and I played at recess and lunch to have fun. Yeah. And that's sort of where my kind of love of the sport really sparked. So I was like, okay, I'll try it out, playing the school team. Played at McMath until grade 9. Ultimately, I had a falling out with the coach, just over like a disagreement of what I think we valued in terms of playing. Yeah. And I had to make a decision. Like I still loved basketball. I still love the game. And so I found a community league in Richmond that kind of allowed me to continue to play and grow, and gave me opportunities to ref and gave me opportunities to coach, which sort of started me on the path that I'm on now.
That's awesome. And, shout out to McMath. I know we, when I coached at Kits, we played them a couple years back. And I can't remember the one kid's name now. He was just cooking us in the first half. He hit like 8 threes. In halftime, he said to our one guy who was a rugby player, said, "Hey, face guard this guy. He doesn't touch the basketball." And we ended up winning, but it was nuts. It's Richmond, a lot of good players came out of Richmond over the years and over the decades. What as a local kid, what was basketball like locally, but also in the province at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think basketball was just Of course, Richmond has a rich history of basketball, starting all the way back with Richmond High.
Yep.
And if,
Bill
if anybody
Disbrow,
listening has had, if anybody listening has had the chance to watch that, I forget who made the documentary, whether it was Vice or another smaller filmmaking company, but on the Dolphin Classic.
Yeah.
Right, which was obviously an institution in Richmond, still running to this day. I mean, COVID bearing, but a massive basketball tournament. It still hadn't exploded to, I think, what it is today. And I've had the fortunate opportunity of being able to see basketball across the country. And when I think back to my time in basketball in Richmond, I graduated McMath in 2013. There really wasn't a ton of structured places to play available outside of playing for your school team. Whereas now I look at BC and I look at, just the amazing opportunities, different clubs, be it yours, be it Drive, be it Dynamite, 3D was a big club back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But really when I was growing up there wasn't a ton of options, right? You played in your school team, maybe there was some community leagues, or you took part in one of the few clubs that was available. But, even then you weren't really playing in BC. All of those clubs were, trying to create opportunities elsewhere because that's where the basketball was at the time. Yeah.
No, for sure. And, it is definitely blown up now. And, if you mentioned about, Drive, I mean, they're like one of the original, like big clubs back in the day. And, they're still going now. You have, we have Form, we have, like you said, 3D, you have any pocket of the city or even on the lower mainland of the Fraser Valley, there's a club. So it's good. And I think, also having the Raptors be the only Canadian team has helped, kids fall in love with basketball, and especially when they won it in 2019, like, there was that blow up of registrations and kids. I want to be the next Kawhi Leonard. I'm like, well, he has a very big pause, so I don't know about that. So
well, and I think like you see the stats all the time. Like basketball is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, right? Like it's fun, it's exciting, it's high pace, it's accessible. People really love the game.
Yeah,
and I think it's so evident to see that in the amount of opportunities that exist, right? Like there's just so much demand and appetite for basketball, especially in BC now. That you get all these awesome club opportunities happening, and now all of a sudden you get us, into a space where, there is developed, structured opportunities to really play, in good environments.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now taking things obviously from Richmond, and you're now in Edmonton, and for those in our audience that don't know, Coach B's the assistant coach at University of Alberta men's program. How did that happen? How did you go from Richmond and end up in cold ass Edmonton at Alberta? I mean, I can say that because my sister lives in Edmonton. I chirp her all the time about Edmonton. I'm like, that it's a family show, so I can't say what I want to say, but I'm like, that's cold. How did that happen, Coach? Like, what is your? I mean, you're the assistant, but like, what's your role with this team? But before that, like, how did you end up in Edmonton with the Golden Bears?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll get into more detail as we chat more. But the short story is that I graduated from McMath in 2013. Like everybody, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I applied to a bunch of different schools. I ended up getting into Waterloo for sport business. Moved out to Ontario, got involved with the team, started coaching, started really enjoying it. And then, I applied for the Masters of Coaching program when I graduated at the University of Alberta, and got in touch with Coach Barnaby Craddock, who's the head coach at U of A. Reached out, said, hey, I'm interested. What do you think? I applied, got accepted. And 4 years later, which is crazy to say out loud, here I am. So it's kind of been a fun journey. And I think as we talk about it more, the big emphasis for me has been on the relationships, right? Like basketball is such a relationship business, right? Absolutely. And, success lies, I'm not going to say 100%, like, a lot of it is hard work, but, so much of it has to do with, who and who you're able to get yourself in front of, and the relationships that you can maintain and build and go out and network, so that people can open doors for you. And as hard as that is to talk about sometimes, because I love to be able to say, yeah, it was like, it was 100% hard work and everybody gets equal opportunity. The sad reality is that, that's just not it. But I think the one thing you can control is, is keeping and maintaining great relationships, right? And if you're an athlete watching or listening, I think that the big rule is like, respect your coach's time, be a good person, be good to other people, because that matters. That stuff matters, because when they have opportunities for other people and they're going to say, oh yeah, I remember, so-and-so, they were such an awesome person. Yeah, let's bring them into the mix.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how these things start to happen. There's no, there's never like, job postings that go out for coaching opportunities. Right. It's just so
rare.
recruited internally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. It's so rare. And so anyways, I'm getting lost in the process here. But yeah, now that I'm at U of A, kind of my roles center around mainly I'm going through our offense and the other team's defense.
Okay.
So that's kind of like my main portfolio, and then all the pieces that kind of fall into that. So cutting up film, scout, kind of working on the scout for that, working on options, understanding, supporting the guys in that learning process. I'm also supporting the resurgence of our Junior Bears club program.
Okay, nice.
So a lot of universities are starting to have these kind of junior programs that allow them, that allow like their athletes to have opportunities to coach, and then obviously the coaches get another opportunity to be involved, and it also just helps create brand awareness and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're excited to try and launch that again, and then of course just like cutting film and scout and that kind of stuff. So
no, that's awesome. And I know you and I know, but for those listening and maybe tuning in, and you say the word scout and they're like, what the heck does that mean? Maybe just quickly touch on what a scout is, because I mean, we do the same thing with my men's team. We do scout every game, and we present to the team, and we kids hear the words KYP and all these things, and they're like, maybe kind of quickly touch on that.
Yeah, so that's okay. Good question. So we would break down our quote unquote scout into 3 sections. I think most programs do something very, very similar to this. The first section is that KYP piece, which is knowing your personnel.
Yep.
And so, we would look at if we're coming up playing you guys, we're looking at all of your individual guys. What are they doing? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where are they comfortable going? Where are they not comfortable going? Right? Like, if we're trying to show the guys in our team, what Windsor basketball is all about, we need to break down, who the individual athletes are in that team. So that's sort of section 1, the individual player scout.
Right.
Section 2 is, okay, conceptually on offense, what are you trying to do? Right. And so, there might be multiple sections in there. What are you trying to do in transition? Right. Are you trying to shoot threes and run a 3-point line? Are you rim running all the time? Are you not, are you offensive rebounding, and therefore you're trying to get in there? What actions are you falling back on all the time? What are your motion concepts? What do you do on dribble penetration? So that's the kind of the next section, that offense piece. And then the last section, which I think is the most fun section, is the defense section. What are you doing on defense to try and stop other teams offensively? How do you guard ball screens? How do you guard in the post? How do you guard common actions? How do you guard in transition? Do you play zone? Do you have a press? Right. So all of these kind of bigger high level team concepts, we might look individually at your guys when we're looking at the individual scout, who's a strong defender. I know Ochu's injured this year, but he would obviously be on our list as like top on-ball defender.
You're trying to get away from.
We want to keep out of the actions.
Yeah.
Right. So, kind of looking at those 3 main areas. And then, of course, the last one, which is sort of a section on its own, you could call it the 4th area, is, our own individual scout, right? Doing that self-reflection, watching film on ourselves. Okay, what do we need to do better? How can we improve? And you can break that down in 3 sections again. But yeah, those are sort of the bigger pieces. And of course, that's, in today's day and age with synergy and the access to video, it's a little bit easier to do, but still a lot of fun.
Thank God for synergy, because if we had to do that all that, synergy. I love synergy because it gives you all the percentage of they're doing this, and if he does this, he's doing this 20% of the time, and if he goes right,
Yeah.
then it's fantastic. It's an amazing program, and without it, I think we'd have much more sleepless nights.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like video is such a powerful tool,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
There's a couple things that like, so I finished my master's and I started my PhD, but that's a story for another time. But anyways, one of the projects that I thought would be cool would be to look at the various angles of video that you could try and capture that would be better for teaching and learning. So like, the one video that we get constantly is that broadcast angle,
Yeah.
which comes from like the sideline. But can we fly a drone onto the court and get it hovering over the point guard's head so I can see exactly what their passing angle is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we use those kind of things to help athletes learn and get better and understand what their decision was, right?
That'd be kind of cool, but I don't know whether I don't know about you, but I'd be distracted. I'm like, oh, there's something in the sky. What is that? And then miss the play.
Yeah.
Um, for someone like you, like you're so Alberta's in Canada West. What's it like playing 4 provinces? Like it makes up Canada West. What's that travel like? What's it like? I know this year's a little bit different because of COVID, but in a normal year, what's that kind of like?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Ultimately it just boils down to being a lot of fun. Being on a team is all about, camaraderie and culture and community and, traveling. I think I definitely look forward to it because it gives me the opportunity to kind of see parts of Canada that I would not have normally gone out on my way to go visit, right? No offense to Regina, but I can't say that I'm going out of my way to go for a week-long road trip there, right? But to be able to go through basketball, with a bunch of people who you really care about and want to be around, and you have a community that goes with you, it makes that experience so much better. So that part is a lot of fun. Obviously, it's Canada West and it's the prairies and it's the winter time. And like 2 years ago, we went to Regina. It was our last series of the year, so this must have been like late November, maybe the first weekend of December, and it was probably -20, and we don't fly, we drive. And from Edmonton to Regina, it's about an 8-hour bus ride.
Okay.
So we get on our Greyhound bus or coach bus with the women's team. We're heading down there, play our games. It was an awesome series. We ended up winning both games, one of which was a double overtime win.
Wow.
And then we're going to drive back the night of the second game, which, the game finished, I think, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then you got an 8-hour drive back. Like those are the things
that's the grind,
I'm not looking forward to, right? It just kills your whole day. But, obviously to win and to, go back on the bus with the team, excited, it makes it a lot better. Unfortunately, it was, massive storm. The roads were awful. We had to stay an extra night and then drive back the next day.
Yeah.
But those are just the fun little opportunities. In the moment, it sucked, but looking back, those are the fun times. Staying in the hotels, having fun. Just being around a community of great people and sharing that experience together is all part of it. So
yeah, the team bonding and the jokes and that's what makes it. That's what people just think it's just about the on-court stuff. It's like you said, the relationships and the off-court stuff. And I know for myself, with my guys, being able to talk to them and hearing what they thought of the game or just stuff that's going on in their life. Some you learn about you learn a lot about your athletes just from those bus rides as well too. It's like, oh, coach, I play an instrument or I do this, and I'm like, really, you like. Yeah, never would have thought that, right? So, but yeah, those long drives back are
but that's part of it, and I think that's where you see people's true character, right? It would be very easy to get down, and say the world is against us, woe is me, why don't we fly, and be really negative about the experience and show up and not perform at your best, right? But ultimately, you control your attitude and how you're going to, take this experience. And if you see this as like, oh yeah, it's a really cool opportunity to go visit somewhere special with a group of people that I'm, that I really care about, you can control that narrative and control the way you play.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always like, obviously home court advantage is great and you have your crowd there. But as you know, coach, like tough teams went on the road.
Oh yeah.
Tough teams went on the road, and you guys are one of the toughest teams in USports. And so to be able to go into someone else's house and not only, especially when you back to back, so not only just win the one game, but have both wins and come home with that dub, those dubs. Those are what how you make offensive and defensively tough teams, right?
Yeah.
And I know I was watching the Raptors game last night, and I'll be curious to see how they do tonight against Milwaukee. Now they're going to
Hostile
a harsh environment, fear the deer. Can you guys replicate, that toughness that you showed the night before?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about being, your community involvement in Richmond from, going from McMath and then getting involved. How did that happen? Like, did someone reach out to you? Did you reach out to someone? Did you see a posting, or you just showed up one day and say, hey, I want to coach here? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, it was, it was kind of I would say a culmination of everything that had happened to me to that point. So like I mentioned, I played basketball in grade 9, and then I'll use the word, I transitioned out of high school basketball and found a different opportunity. And I had gone to, community center daycare growing up. Both my parents are teachers, and, they were out early and were out late. And so we went, my brother and I went to daycare, and we just happened to go to a community center daycare that also ran the same basketball league. And the people who were kind of like our daycare leaders ended up growing into these, programming roles and manager roles. And so by the time I, was ready to try something different in basketball, there were people in positions in the community in Richmond who I knew and who I was aware of. And, they were very supportive in supporting me to give me a different space to play. And that's sort of how it started. It was like a Tuesday night, 4-team league of guys in Richmond who were like me and didn't make their high school teams, or didn't want to play on their high school teams but still wanted to play.
Yeah.
And that environment was, it was awesome. It was probably awful basketball, but it was a lot of fun, right? It was like basketball at its purest form of just enjoyment and being there because you wanted to be there, and for the things that I valued, I should say. Anyways, I think the league only ran up to like grade 10 or 11, and eventually they just asked me if I wanted to ref some of the games. Like, hey, you're one of the older kids here, like, are you interested in reffing some of the games? I said, sure, I'll learn, I'll try. Reffed a couple of games, and then eventually they said, hey, you kind of know what's going on, like you obviously understand the game, how about coming in and coaching our junior, like Steve Nash youth basketball sessions on Thursdays? I said, well, I don't really know, but sure, like, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Right. I like basketball. I liked working with kids. Sure, I'll give it a shot. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. And, I think coaching for me gave me an opportunity to still be involved in basketball, still be around the game that, I loved and brought me a lot of joy, and yet be in a place where, one, I could provide a different experience than what I got. And then two, like, I could share all of the great things that I learned from other great people around me. Right. At the same time, it also helped me realize that I didn't really know a lot, and kind of pushed me to learn a lot more.
Baptism by fire, right?
Yeah. Right. Like, I look back on some of the things that I used to do as a youth basketball league coach, and I'm like, Brandon, what were you thinking? But of course, at the time, it's what I thought was right. I remember drawing, like, maybe this is like 2011, 2012, and the elevator play was huge in basketball, right? So I remember coaching like a grade 3-4 team, community league team in the summer, and trying to draw up the elevator play for them to run, right? Like, in my mind, I'm, Greg Popovich. I'm the greatest coach of all time, trying to draw this play for little kids. And, needless to say, they had no idea what was going on. But, it took me a while to really understand that, like, it seems obvious, but kids are not mini adults, right? They're just kids. They want to go out and have fun. And, I needed to make those mistakes and have that experience to be able to understand, okay, development is not, what I think it is. I need to actually go and learn, and spend some time dedicating myself to this. So
yeah, no, for sure. I remember, like, my earlier there hasn't been too many times I've been out-coached, right? And I remember coaching when I was living in Toronto years ago, and I remember taking my U19 team down. We were good. We were good. We had some solid players who were playing USports or who played USports. And I remember just playing against this. We were in I think it was the Ancaster tournament. And
Sure.
this, I can't remember his name now, but he was the former Queens coach way back in the day. And I didn't remember that until I saw their warm up and some of the stuff they did. And I looked at him like, this guy looks familiar from back in my day my playing days. So, anyways, every play, motion offense, whatever, he just countered it. Just countered it on defense. I would counter it, he would counter it. I'm like, oh my God. It was like, it's literally like basketball, it's like playing chess.
Yeah.
Like he just knew what I was going to do beforehand. And they ended up beating us by about 6 or 7. And I remember shaking his hand at the end of the game. And he talked about getting better as a coach. And I said, you know what? Thanks for that ass kicking.
Yeah.
Today, you made me a better coach.
Yeah,
we lost, but I became a better coach today.
Yeah.
And, it's about that. I mean, kids are different because kids in grade 3 just want to run around, like you said, but
for sure.
That experience made you a better coach and, to where you are today. I know for a fact, one of the things I like about you and you're great at is that you're humble, you're chill, you don't get too high and you don't talk yourself up, but I'm going to talk you up because I know your background and, you're a guy that's very much community involved and you are maybe talk about what your involvement is over in Alberta with the youth programming that you do over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, so now I'm working full time for an organization called Free Play for Kids as the operations manager, and basically Free Play is it's a charity organization, and our sole goal is to provide opportunity to the marginalized youth in Edmonton. And so we focus on kind of 4 main sports: basketball, soccer, hockey, and flag football. Mm-hmm. And our goal again is to provide these kids who would not normally have the opportunity of being around somebody who has a master's of coaching degree or a USports coach or professional athletes. Like, our coaching staff is, I can't speak highly enough of them. I think we've gotten some of the best coaches in the city in all these different areas to come and be part of our organization and to provide these kids with an experience that they never would have had otherwise, just based on a variety of reasons, whether it's time, money, transportation barriers, food barriers. Like food insecurity is a massive barrier for families. And so our goal is to try and, really take down as many of these barriers to access as possible, while also trying to teach, these very, very important life skills that, you and I and, a lot of my other friends were able to get just by playing sport, right? But a lot of people don't have access, and therefore, a lot of those important skills that, people learn, like how to be a good loser, right? How to congratulate other people, how to be humble, how to thank people for, as you said, teaching you something in a moment when it would have been very easy for you to be upset, right? And to realize, okay, yeah, that was an awesome learning moment for me, right? A lot of those things happen through sport. And I think, obviously as a proponent of sport, I believe that, everybody should have the opportunity to go and play and be a part of a group and be a part of a team. And so that's what we're trying to do is trying to break down as many barriers as possible and get kids on the field and playing and having fun and give them the same experience that we got, that hopefully allows them to, do the great things in life that they want to do.
No, that's amazing. And I know I've talked about, this throughout the, last year and a half, and it's great work that you're doing. And, I commend you for it because it's not something that most people do. Most people just want like, whatever, right? Or they don't, they assume that everyone can afford it. And that's not the reality, right? Especially during the time now of COVID and, families are struggling financially and, struggling mentally and, emotionally. It's one of those things where if kids have something like this to look forward to during this time, especially, it pays dividends. Obviously, we talked about COVID. How has it been for you, Coach? personally, and then obviously with your team, how's the whole pandemic situation been?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's been tough on a couple of counts. One is it's, from a selfish perspective, it just hasn't really allowed me to do the things that I love. And we were talking a little bit earlier, ultimately being able to play basketball is a privilege, but it's such a great privilege, being in a basketball community, it's such an awesome community. But to not be able to do certain things, be on the court, be around guys. I'm also, one of the provincial team coaches, and we haven't had a national championships at the provincial team level for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We just had a meeting. This is January 5th. We had a meeting last night as provincial team coaches about, our likelihood and viability of being able to run tryouts again this year, to be able to compete at national championships. And for me, hopefully at Canada Summer Games this summer. And, as I transition to the other half of the question, which is to talk about the guys, I think, the bigger challenge is the uncertainty, right? The constant uncertainty of what is going to happen. On one hand, sport is such a ritualistic environment, right? It's built on routines, it's built on preparation, and you kind of understand, okay, I've got a game Saturday, so here's kind of my routine on Friday to kind of lead up to prepare. Here's my routine on Saturday.
Right.
And that's sort of the culture around sport, right? It's this routine of preparation, and that's what we try and support athletes through, just like in life, right? Preparing. Sport is also dynamic, right? Things happen that are out of your control, and I think this is kind of a macro example of that. Of we can't ultimately control what happens with other people. We can't control what happens with policy. We can't control what happens with regulations. All we can do is control what we can control, support each other, ensure that everyone's doing well with their mental health, doing well with their physical health, and take it day by day. But yeah, I think that uncertainty piece, as I'm sure and I'm sure your guys' experience is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And, I always say to my guys, and I say to other coaches about choice, and I feel sorry for our athletes. I feel sorry, not just athletes, but I feel sorry for students, because the university and the college or the post-secondary experience, to say in general, is one of the best experiences of your life.
Yeah.
Before you reach true adulthood and, having to get a job and a mortgage and a wife and the kids and the picket fence and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it ends up being a thing where I like to use the word, they're being robbed, it's not any fault of anybody's. It's just, an unfortunate circumstance. But, I remember being in first university and, if my parents heard this, I'm like, what the hell? Just partying your ass off and meeting people and then going to class, or maybe not going to class because you're a little bit hungover or that sort of thing. Yeah. But that experience, they're never going to be able to get again. And, it honestly, truly breaks my heart. Because, like you, I enjoyed my university experience and, it was great. And so hopefully, we can come on the other side of this and they can experience a bit of that before, they finish their university careers. Yeah. Coach, has been awesome. I mean, the insight, the laughs, the involvement that you have in the community, not just in Alberta, but also in BC. Fireside Chats is an informal discussion, talk amongst friends, whether we're having a beer. I mean, it's a little bit too early in the morning. Well, I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? But you're having a beer, a cocktail, a coffee, and just sitting down, just talking to great guests like yourself and, really talking about the things that matter, right? And hopefully for our audience, they're able to really, as we go through this mini series, they're really able to see what these segments are about, and this series is about. For our audience, and especially those who are not only in university, but also maybe just more at the grassroots level, the youth, young boys and girls who are trying to navigate through this system and trying to get to where ultimately you are, and maybe as a coach later in life, but as a player, first of all. I mean, you've coached some of the guys that I've coached back when they were in Ontario, like Brody Clark. Shout out to Brody over in Germany.
Yep.
I had him in Team Ontario, and he played for you, had a great career. You
Yep.
have a local kid, which I'm sure if I said the name, a lot of people like, what? Adam Page out of
Yeah.
Semiahmoo. What piece of advice would you give to young boys and girls about chasing their dreams, empowering themselves, and ultimately getting to where they need to get to?
Yeah. I mean, I think from a very general perspective, and hopefully this applies to people listening, basketball is such an awesome avenue. And one of the conversations I have with my good friend Gabe all the time is, basketball to me is access, right? And I think about, how awesome basketball has been for me. It didn't work out for me as an athlete. I wasn't blessed with the genetic gifts and athletic abilities and all that stuff, but I still love the game. And I think, it's important for people to realize that, when your playing career ends, and, for everybody, it ends one day, whether you're 40 and you're playing in the NBA, whether it's 18 and you just graduated high school, whether you're 22 and you just graduated university, it's going to end at some point, right? But I think what's important to recognize that there are so many unique opportunities that basketball involves, to keep people involved. And so I would say, keep those things in mind. If you love basketball and you love what you do, more in general, if you love what you do, chances are you're going to be pretty good at it, and chances are the money will follow, right? The one kind of lesson that I've learned is that, if you chase money, you won't have a rich life, but if you love what you do, you'll have a rich and fulfilled life, right? It's just the way it is, because, as if you're passionate about something and you truly love it, you're going to be good at it. And if you're good at it, someone will pay you to do it. Right?
Absolutely.
That's just the way it is,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would say that. And then the other piece I would say is just be kind, right? Be kind to other people. Understand that, everyone is going through a hard time right now. What you say to people matters, how you behave matters. Be aware of those things, be kind, say thank you, say hi, smile. All those little things really, really go a long way right now.
Yeah. And it's great that you said that, because it's honestly consistent with what Danny Langford said in episode 1. It's about being kind, about introducing yourself, about, saying thank you, all those things. And, for those who are listening, we don't script any of this. So you just, we're just having an informal conversation as we would normally as friends. And, the take home message for those listening is like, is to heed those words and, thank your parents, thank your coaches, your grandparents, coaches will come out to watch you, all those things. Those are the important pieces, because those are what we refer to as character building items, right? Because, a lot of kids worry about, oh, I need to be seen and, that sort of thing. And, I always joke around with my guys at the academy, and I say to them, listen, guys, like, at the end of the day, if you're talented, the coach will find you.
Yep.
Right. We talk about here in Canada, like, if you look at university rosters and you see international players, like, if we can find a kid in Africa or Spain or Australia or wherever it is, we can find you in Canada. It's really not that difficult, right? But at the end of the day, when we do find you, what are those intangible things that, is going to make me want to recruit you, or make, Coach B want to recruit you to Alberta, me to Windsor, or, wherever we're other programs. And, at the end of the day, we talk about culture, right? The culture building piece is important. Coach, before we let you go, that you have, the good old Instagram. If kids want to, follow you and follow your journey and reach out, maybe just for our audience, shout that out.
For sure. Yeah. It's a little bit convoluted. It looks like B Brock, but B Brock was taken. So it's L3 Brock, BROCK.
All right.
On Instagram. Same thing on Twitter, I believe. More than welcome to follow me there and join my journey. And I'm always happy to answer questions if people want to reach out, say hi, learn more, or just chat. I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll definitely have that up on our Instagram as well too. And then this episode 2 will be up on our YouTube channel. Coach, thank you so much for doing this. For I'm sure we'll chat again throughout the week and into the following weeks. Best of luck in your upcoming resumption of games. We're a bit jealous here in the OUA, but
well, it's a whole knock on wood situation right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that maybe want to watch games, where's the best place to watch the Golden Bears play?
Yeah, all of our games are streamed live on Canada West TV. Unfortunately, unlike the OUA, it's not a free service. So there is a small fee. But yeah, I mean, I would encourage it. People are in Alberta listening, and we're coming to play. Either in Calgary or in Lethbridge, and you happen to come out. Don't be a stranger. Come and say hi. I also coach with the Stingers, and we travel to Abbotsford or Sask, and you see me. Don't be afraid to say hi. Yeah, I'm always happy to share and chat.
Well, folks, there you have it. Like I said, he's the man of. He's very, very humble, very, very, very laid back. This episode is from local to the City of Champions, and if you don't know what the City of Champions is, that is Edmonton.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you. We appreciate it. Stay warm. Please don't go outside. It sounds hella cold, but we definitely appreciate it. And I know for me, it's always just great to sit back and listen to coaches, but also again, knowing a bit of your story it's always just a real treat to hear it over and over again. We'll talk soon. Stay healthy, stay safe. Folks, this has been Fireside Chats with Coach P. Tune in next week for episode 3. We'll have a great guest, and you don't want to miss that. Once again, this has been Coach Brendan Brock. And without further ado, we out of here.